And welcome to The Bottom Line, where we unpack some of the main business and economic stories of the day. 2025 looks to be the year of Poland's national rail infrastructure. PKP Polish Railways, the state-owned company, has significant plans for modernization. Hefty sums of money will transpire into tangible developments into Polish rail infrastructure that will also go beyond Polish borders. To tell us more about the numbers behind the plans for 2025, I'm joined by Marcin Mochocki, Chief Investment Officer at PKP Polish Railways. Hello, and thank you very much for joining us in the studio.
Hi, hello. It's a great honor to be here.
So, to begin with, if we look at the map of Polish express and motorways, we see that the majority of the network has already been built. But if we were to create a similar map for Polish railways, how far along percentage-wise would you say that PKP is with its vision for investment and modernization? And how much would you actually like to accomplish this year?
So first of all, Polish railway networks is like 19,000 kilometers long. So the railway network is already constructed. We are during the modernization phase of the railway network, and currently we have financing for modernizing the infrastructure till 2029. But our strategic plan envisages to develop the network until the 2050. We are during the modernization of the main passenger and cargo corridors, like Warszawa-Białystok, Warszawa-Poznań, Warszawa-Szczecin.
And in terms of what you would like to accomplish this year, 2025, because there's a plan for quite a few years, what would you say would be an accomplishment that would satisfy you in terms of goals and aims achieved?
Sure. Last year, we announced tenders for over 19 billion zlotys. Only in January, we intend to announce tenders for another 11 billion zlotys. For such large contracts like continuation of Rail Baltica projects from Białystok to Ełk, continuation of modernization of Warszawa-Warsaw railway node, the modernization of Warszawa Wschodnia station. So the main achievement for 2025 is actually signing the contracts for the tenders that we have announced in 2024 and we intend to announce in 2025. It's worth also mentioning that during the last year we actually signed contracts worth over 17 billion zlotys. We started construction works in cities like Katowice, where we are totally reconstructing the whole transport network for the whole metropolitan area. We also started the construction works for the cargo connection between Tri-City and Bydgoszcz, which is the alternate route for the line number 9, the passenger line between Warsaw and Gdańsk.
So EU money is absolutely essential to execute all these plans that you've just shared with us. Are you certain? Are you anticipating all the money to come through in the second and third payments of the National Reconstruction Plan funds?
The National Reconstruction Fund is only the part of the total financial package for the Polish Railways.
But you're dependent on that, aren't you?
In part of course, but the main part of our financing is actually the structural funds from EU, like Cohesion Fund or Connecting Europe Facility. The KPO, or the resilience plan, is only the part of the financing, and we need to actually spend all the money till I think August 2026. So it's a great challenge for us, but we intend to spend all the money and be ready to spend all the available funds from Cohesion Fund and Connecting Europe Facility till 2029.
Polish-Ukrainian trade is quite heavily dependent on the railway gauge system. And how well adapted is that infrastructure between the two countries? Is there any further efforts that are being made to make that easier?
The gauge is actually changed on the border crossing points. So what we are working together with our Ukrainian friends from the Ukrainian railways is actually working on the capacity on the border crossings. We already spent over 400 million zlotys to enhance capacity on these border crossing points. And the other important news that we actually just 2 weeks ago signed a common project together with Ukrainian Railways, we are starting a feasibility study for enhancement of capacity from Chełm till Dorohusk, which is the border crossing point, and actually to other Ukrainian cities along the route.
And how much do you anticipate that that capacity will be raised? Increased?
Yeah, actually we are looking for capacity over 100% better than nowadays, and we are talking not only about the capacity in terms of number of passenger trains, but also the capacity for the cargo trains, and changing the terminals for the, changing the gauge between the Ukrainian gauge and Polish gauge.
And now moving on to Rail Baltica. This is obviously a significant project here in Poland, but something that moves beyond our borders. One that is also highly anticipated. Can you tell us a little bit more about the plans for this year and beyond?
Sure. Just last year we finished the construction for the Warszawa-Białystok section. Actually, nowadays there are record times in terms of transit between Warszawa and Białystok, 19 minutes. So I invite everybody to use trains between these two cities. Just 1 week ago, we announced a record tender for PKP PLK worth over 6 billion zlotys between Białystok and Ełk, and we are during the design phase for the section between Ełk and Baltic's border. The tender between Białystok and Ełk is absolutely the biggest one ever constructed by PKP PLK, and what's important, we use the European Court of Justice announcement that we can exclude companies from China and from third countries in order to make the projects more competitive for Polish and local companies.
And in terms of service, because obviously it's great to hear these numbers and to hear about these tenders and obviously things that will allow Polish businesses to thrive, but service itself, we hear a lot about passenger trains running at 200 kilometers per hour, and there are places that actually allow for trains to run at that speed, but the service is not actually consistent. So it's not all throughout the journey that we have 200 kilometers per hour. When can we expect those speeds to improve and for that consistency to be maintained?
Of course, it depends on the route and local conditions of the railway line, but we have 200 kilometers per hour between Warsaw and Gdańsk, and between Warsaw and Katowice and Krakow.
Well, you mentioned Gdańsk, you see, but we see my editor recently traveled from Warsaw to Szczecin, and the trip took 4 hours and 15 minutes. That's what he tells me, and he says that indeed the train doesn't stop as much, so the journey is quicker. But he says that the speed overall hasn't actually improved all that much.
It actually improved because 4 hours and 4.5 hours between Warsaw and Szczecin is absolutely a record time. And we started the service just last December, so a few weeks ago. And previously, before the modernization of Poznań-Szczecin section, the maximum speed between Poznań and Szczecin was 220 and 240 kilometers per hour. Nowadays, it's a constant section with the maximum speed of 160 kilometers per hour. So the speed absolutely increased.
Similar situations apply to freight trains, obviously, because we have passenger freight trains, intermodal transport. So just going back to freight trains, we hear that their average speed is less than 30 kilometers an hour. And this is actually one of the greatest obstacles when it comes to transporting goods from roads onto railroads. Can you tell us anything about improvement in that area?
Sure. We are working also on the infrastructure that is designated for cargo traffic. One of the projects is the line between Gdańsk and Bydgoszcz, the investment worth over 10 billion zlotys. You have to remember that the main product of the PKP Polish Railways is capacity on the network. We have to have place for passenger trains, for regional trains, for agglomeration trains, and also for the cargo trains. In so many cases, the priority is for the passenger transport because obviously passengers want to reach the target as fast as possible. So in many cases, when there is no capacity for the cargo train needs to wait for its...
Passengers take priority.
Yeah, sure, for its turn. So when it's waiting for its turn, obviously the average speed is going lower. But we are working not only for the modernization of the passenger trains, but we are working also for building new infrastructure and for modernizing the alternate routes dedicated solely for cargo transport.
Okay, I'm afraid that's all we have time for, but thank you very much for coming in. Marcin Mochocki.
Thank you.
And we were joined by Marcin Mochocki, Chief Investment Officer at PKP Polish Railways. Thank you so much for joining us today. I was your host, Marie Cato. Join us every weekday for Business Arena at 5 p.m. CET on TVP World. And for the latest in regional business, follow us on X and on tvpworld.com. And for more news and features, stay with us on TVP World. Goodbye.